All right, so give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. All right, can you see my screen, guys?
Yep.
All right, and then you can see my mouse and everything all right?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. So we're just going to go over a brief overview of the front of the house. But basically, the way we like to do it is we'll just take you through a day in the life of like a server and a bartender, and then we'll also show you how to, as a manager or an owner, how to do, batch and tip adjustment, checkouts, and then close the day and submit the batch. Okay. Cool. So yeah, right off the bat, this is going to be your main login screen. So you'll see right up in the top left here, this A615. This is actually the node of the individual terminal itself. So they usually start with A000, A001, so on and so forth. That's just how we denote the actual terminal and how we select which terminal to submit the batch on. Going over to the right, we have our sync button. This is going to be your most used button pretty much. Anytime you make any changes in the back office, anytime you make any changes in prices, modifiers, so on and so forth, once you publish those changes onto the actual POS, you'll walk to the terminal and you'll hit that sync button and it syncs with the back office. So that's pushing those changes from the back office to the actual POS itself, right? Similarly with sync checks. So being a cloud-based system and everything like that, it does automatically sync checks every 10 to 15 minutes roughly. But if you are, let's say, having a server that, let's say, goes to one terminal, starts a tab, brings some stuff in, sends it and all that stuff, and then immediately walks over to another terminal, there might be just that slight delay. So I would always tell them to just sync checks immediately after they go back to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, cool. To the right of that, you've got your devices listed. So this is going to list all of your connected nodes. So you'll have, A001, A002, so on and so forth. This just gives you a list of all your connected devices. So let's say you had one terminal that might have had a connection issue or something like that. If you go to another terminal and you don't see it on here, then it's obviously a network issue, right? To the right of that,
that'll
yeah.
show 5. We have 5 stations. That's going to show our 5 stations.
Yep.
Correct?
Exactly. Yep. And then to the right of that, this signs everyone out. So I would not advise pressing that. This is when you hit sign out, it's going to actually log you out of the app, and then you'd have to log in using Nick, your login information and all that stuff to sign back in.
An employee actually accidentally do that, or they couldn't get into
They
this?
they can. So I would just advise just let them know just not to press that button at any point and all that stuff. Okay.
So you can sign out without a password or a PIN?
Yes.
That's stupid.
Yeah, Alex, do we have a way to turn that off or disable that
or put a
feature
PIN on it?
Not currently. We are working on that as well. So that's in the process, but just for the time being, I would just avoid this like the plague. Any questions on these top parts or anything like that?
Not from me.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go down the list down just from the left side, and then we'll go over to the right. So this is a quick link to the back office. So if I click on that, this will actually take me directly to the back office. So, you would just log in using your email address and your password. And then that way, even if you don't have access to a computer or a laptop or anything like that, you can access the back office, update prices quickly and all that stuff. Just a word otherwise, I would advise logging out as well after you're doing this, just because someone could click on that and then it would jump right to the back office. So I would just sign off afterwards. Down below that, we've got our quick links for operation. So operation is kind of a shortcut to all of your things. So this is blocked by a passcode, or you can set it to, have certain roles be able to access it. So this just jumps through. We will actually go through this list in a second. I just want to navigate and show you that this is that shortcut. Down below that, we've got active employees. So this just lists all of your current active employees that are on. So you can see people that are all You can see people that are on shift, people that might be on a break if you set that up, or people that are currently not on the shift. Down below that, time clock. This is going to be how your servers and everyone are going to actually clock in. What they'll do is they'll hit that time clock, they'll put their number in, they'll hit continue, and then you'll see that it clocks them in, and then you can clock in and out through that section. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. And then down below that, you'll see Wednesday, 10:11 a.m., September 11th, and then the business date is September 11th, and then the version. So just a word to the wise for like managers and owners, if you go in for your opening session and all that stuff, and you see that you see the correct date, September 11th, but let's say this business date was September 10th, that would denote that the business date is still considered on the 10th. So somebody didn't either
Batch
close
anything.
the day or batch anything out. Exactly. So then if you see that, then you would just go in, close the day, and then it should reset that that business date to that correct date. Down below that, you also have your version. So if you're on call with support or something like that, and they ask what version, this is where you would see that version area.
Where do we go back real quick?
Yeah.
Where do we, if we see that the business, if the session hasn't been logged out, if you will, or we haven't batched out, how do we batch it out and close it again?
Yeah, well, so I'm going to get to that like through that. So it's just going to be the whole process. I want to show you how the batch and tip adjustment works and all that stuff, and then from there, then you would just do what we did from there.
Got it.
To the right side here, you've got just some quick shortcuts. So you can do bar tab; it jumps you right to the bar tab. Delivery would jump you right into a delivery order, phone order, so on and so forth. Down below that, we also have the 86 list. So this is just an accurate description of how much you have on each hand. So let's say you're doing like a special or something to that extent, and you only have a select amount. You would add that into this 86 list, and then you can have an accurate count of how many specials you have left to sell. Does that make sense?
Yep. Got
Cool.
it. Never use it. Next.
Beautiful. Okay, so any questions on this login screen, right?
No.
Nope.
No.
Cool. So I'm going to jump in as a server. Okay. So when you create a user as like a server or something like that, you can set the actual POS initial screen to be the table layout. So when the server clocks in, like for example, I'm going to log in as my server, it's going to jump right to my actual table layout. So I can immediately jump in and start taking tables. This is my like test account. So it's not going to look like yours, but your table layout should be on that web version, so you can see. So if you want to follow along,
do we have to make this it like that? So when the server clocks in, it pops to the layout, or can the server clock in
no,
and everybody sees the same thing?
yeah,
Just
yep,
question.
yeah. So that's when you actually create the actual user. You can set that initial screen to be whatever you want, so anything can be uniform and everything like that. Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. So this is basically the main screen that a server might see and all that stuff. So you'll see down below, you've got a few options. You've also got some color coordination and all that stuff. So you can start a new check by one of two ways. You can either tap the actual table itself. It's going to ask you for how many people you have. Again, you can toggle this so it doesn't ask you how many people you have on a table or something to that extent. I'm just going to go with one, and then it jumps me right into the order screen. So you'll see right off the bat, we've got the table, and in the table name, you've got the name walk-in. So if you wanted to give it an actual name, so let's say you didn't want it to say walk-in, you would just tap the actual text for walk-in, and then you can enter the customer name, hit OK, and then you'll see that it's changed that name to it. Similarly, if you have like a membership or a loyalty program or something to that extent, and you wanted to add or associate someone with that, you can press this little plus person button, and then you can search them up by name or by phone. So if I put my phone number in, you'll see my name pops up, and now my name is now associated with that as well.
Cool.
If I click on that name, then you'll actually see, my actual customer profile. So you'll see my name, my email address, phone number. You can put other various information in there, nationality, birthday, so on and so forth. You'll You'll also see now that we have previous orders. So this is really cool because if you call someone, you have their name and you're like, hey, you want the regular George? They're like, oh my God, they know my name, so on and so forth. Like, oh yes, I'll have the regular. So that you could just click on it and then reorder it and then jump right into the payment screen and ordering and everything like that. Similarly, you can set up loyalty, customer plans, display orders, repeat orders. You can toggle if this is a tax exempt, order for like a church or something to that extent. You have a balance. You can actually add credits to a balance, so on and so forth. So any questions on this bad boy? Pretty
No.
self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Cool. So right over here, this is going to be your list of categories. So when you select a category, you can then see that we have an actual subcategory parts of that. If I selected, a subcategory, then it would list all of the items on that particular subcategory. So then I can add that, add whatever I need. If I wanted to, let's say for pizza, I could build my own pizza. This is where we get into these like modifiers and serving sizes. So you'll see, right off the bat, well, we're going to change it so that you're not going to really have serving sizes per se. But let's say if you had just to build your own pizza and you wanted to select that size, you can select 10, 12, and then you'll see the price change in accordance with that. So these
Same as we
red,
are now.
yeah, yep.
Got it.
So these red modifiers, these are actually considered mandatory modifiers. So you'll see a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 2. So if I, let's say I didn't select one and I just hit done, you actually have to pick an actual modifier. I always use the example if you want for, let's see here. So cook temp is a really good example of a mandatory. You have a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 1. You can't have a burger that's both rare and well done at the same time. So that makes sense. So you have to select 1. And then you'll see that it populates right there. Up on the top of this, these blue modifiers, these are included modifiers. So if you have a pizza that has pre-built, items on top and everything like that, you can list these right here, and these are going to be listed when you order it, but they're not going to be sent to the kitchen. You can toggle that to make it send to the kitchen, but most people in the kitchen know what comes on the old smoky burger or something to that extent. If let's say I didn't want any spicy pickles on it or something, I could toggle that, and now you'll see that it changes it to no spicy pickles. So if you change it to no spicy pickles, this modifier in particular will print to the kitchen so that they can say, hey, they want the old smoky burger, but no pickle or anything like that, right? Down below that, all of these black modifiers, these are all optional modifiers. So these are things that you don't really need on the burger, but if you add them, you can associate them with certain prices. So I can, add some stuff. You'll see right on here that these prefixes, you can set these to each individual modifier. So if I wanted onion, but I wanted it on the side, I can select on the side, and now you'll see that it sets that on-side onion. Similarly, sides and all that stuff, you can add a side and you can associate it, let's say I wanted to add a side Caesar. You'll see that it adds, a Caesar, but you can also add it for a price. So you can also do tiered pricing too. So let's say you want to build your own pizza, but you're running a special for two toppings free, and then any other toppings 75 cents, right? So you can set it so that they would select that 2 topping, and then after they select that third one, it would then add that 75-cent upcharge to it, right? Similarly with modifiers, you can actually modify a modifier with a modifier group. Sorry, that's a little tongue twister there. But so let's say I wanted a side Caesar, but I wanted to select like a dressing for it, right? So down below you have this modify with. I can select modify with, and then I can select what particular dressing I want for this salad. So let's say I want Caesar dressing and I want it on the side, hit OK. And now you'll see it's going to prompt that as well. So just modifiers all the way down, right? Once I'm done with this, I can hit done. And now I've got my order and everything like that. If I'm ready to place the order or anything like that, I can just hit order. And now you'll see these green check marks pop up, right? So once I've sent it to the kitchen and all that stuff, I can then go ahead and take a payment. So if I'm ready to take a payment, I can just go ahead and hit payment. And then what I do is you'll have a list of all of your different payment device and choices. I'm just going to use this owner comp because it's like a side CC, a fake credit card. So it'll still record the actual thing so I can use it for tipping. But you would, select credit, cash, so on and so forth. And then it would prompt you to actually, let's say if I want to do MPPG, I could then jump right to this orders or to this payment screen. I can do manual. I can hit process EMV. If I hit process EMV, it's going to say present card. I'll put my card in and then we're good to go, right? So you'll see, let's say I hit submit, I went ahead and I closed it out and let's say they wanted to actually change it to pay with cash or something to that extent, right? If I go over to like check stats and I can navigate over to my closed, you'll see that this one is closed. I can select it. I can reopen it. Oh, I have to do it as a manager. So you can toggle it so that they can reopen it or, a manager can reopen it. So now you'll see, let's say the payment, you will see the type of payment and the status as success. If you wanted to delete that and change it, you would just click on it to highlight, hit delete, and now it's deleted. Now, if you wanted to, let's say, split payments, you could just hit split, and then you can do, one half, 1/3, 1/4, so on and so forth. So we'll do, 1/2, and then I'll select cash, and now you'll see the cash success for that split. And now you'll see that the remaining balance is right here. So then you would just, let's say they wanted to do it with a card. It's hit submit, and now they're good to go, right? Any questions so far on that?
No.
Similarly, if I were to, let's say, start a bar tab, this is going to be, the same exact concept. You'll see new tab, everything like here on the bottom is going to be the same. Just hit new tab. And then this is where you can do pre-op if you'd like. And then basically the same exact concept. Let's say I want to change the name to test, hit OK, ring some stuff in, hit order, hit finish. And now you'll see when I log in, it's now going to have this as listed right there. So I'm going to start a new tab as well. And then I'll just, ring some stuff in or finish. Now, let's say I wanted to merge these two, right? So I would just click right down to the bottom here. You would hit merge. Then you would select which two checks you want to merge, hit done, and now it's been merged correctly. Similarly, if you wanted to split these checks, you can split by seat or you can split by a check. If I select split by check, I select the check. You'll see that it brings me up to this current check right here. If I hit add, it's going to add another check, and then I can, select some stuff to bring over. And if at any point in time I make a mistake or anything like that, I can just hit start over, brings it right back to the main beginning, and then I can go from there. So if I want to do that, and let's say I want to do that, once I'm done with this, I can then hit save and close. If I wanted to actually, split an item, I can separate the item into two, and now you'll see that it's split those in half, drag it over, and now you've got 50-50 on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. And then,
One
you could.
thing that came to my mind quick. It's a little off topic, but it's not really. Let's say I take an order. Somebody comes in and orders a pizza and like a sandwich. That ticket that prints on the pizza side is obviously going to have the pizza that we need to make on it. Will it say on the bottom of the ticket it's also with a sandwich?
Yeah. Are you saying when it sends to the kitchen itself?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can select, by actual individual items, what kitchen printer you want it to go to. And you can select multiple kitchen printers. So a lot of times people, especially pizza restaurants, you'll have a pizza printer, which is strictly for pizza. And then you'll have, let's say a salad printer or something to that extent. But then you'll also have an expo printer, right? So you can have a printer that, sends the pizza to the pizza printer, the salad to the cold printer, and then the expo printer is going to have both. So you
So
can
you
set
do
it
need
some
to
matter.
send out to both printers. Then right now, if we just we can send just the pizza to the pizza side and just the sandwich to the sandwich side. And on the bottom of the pizza ticket, it will just tell me it's with a kitchen item instead of me having to actually put the kitchen item on the pizza paper with the pizza. So we save a lot. Can we do that or no?
I believe so. I'll double check and I'll let you know.
It's just like a little mark, so the kid can grab the slip out of the box and say, "Oh shit, there's a sandwich with this," without actually having to show that there's a sandwich on the ticket.
Oh, then no. I do believe it actually prints the actual item on it as well.
Go through a lot of paper doing that, boy. Wow.
Let me see how I can work around that. So we will figure that out.
Yeah, just something.
There's more than likely a way and all that stuff. So yeah.
Right now,
there's always
just
a workaround.
also with a kitchen item.
Say that again.
Right now, the pizza ticket reads also with a kitchen item if there's like a sandwich with it.
Okay. I'll see what we can do on that.
Going backwards so far.
Okay. So now if we're done with all this and all the stuff, you can either print all of the checks, print individual checks. When we hit save and close, you'll now see that they've been split off evenly and all that stuff. So now we're good to go with that. So let's go ahead and just close some of these payments out. Any questions so far on any of the table layouts and everything like that?
Nope.
Cool. So let's say, I wanted to transfer a check. So if I go and I see this check right here, I can go ahead and down below here, just go ahead and hit transfer. And then you're going to select the person who you're transferring from, the check you're transferring, and the person you're transferring to. So you can actually do that. You can transfer to a specific table and transfer specific items from checks as well. Just hit done. And now you'll see that it was transferred and now the name has now been taken over.
Very similar to what we have now.
Perfect. So then, yeah, go in there, do that, boom. So you'll notice now this color, this turquoise color, this means that it's actually been seeded. But let's say I wanted to add a separate check onto this table as well, right? I can hit new check, select the table, boom, we'll ring in some stuff. Huge fan of calamari, everyone is. Boom, 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 log in. And now you'll see that's denoted to this burgundy color. This means that there are actual multiple checks on this one table. So I can select that, and then I can actually choose from what checks I want to actually open up. So we'll just go ahead and do some closing. Now, let's say, Wednesday is ready to clock out. She's ready to do her checkout, right? So from here, she's going to have to put her tips in. So we can go back down here. You'll see this real quick shortcut to operation. Now, we'll go through and hit batch and tip adjustment, and you'll see these are all of her checks, all of her credit card checks that like she's taken and all that stuff, and the tips are currently 0. So if I wanted to actually adjust that tip, I could just tap on the check. I can, she was a really good server, so she'll get a nice tip. And now you'll see that it changes to this lovely, puke green kind of color. This denotes that the check has been tipped on. So then we can just go through and make sure that all of these are tipped. If you're OCD like I am and there's no tip, but you still want it to be nice and uniform, you can just click on it, type 0, hit OK. And now you'll see that it has been adjusted, but it's still at that 0. So I'll just go through and, put some tips in and everything like that.
Do these, is it like holding the table until the tip gets put in? Right now, the way we're set up, you gotta finalize the table to get another table.
No. So if I go back to POS, like those tables are all still gone. So once you actually do a credit card transaction or something like that, and then you hit submit, it's going to close it out. Everything's good to go. You can jump on that table.
Still adjust tips later.
Yeah. So normally, like, just a brief history, I worked at this cigar bar nightclub for like 10 years, and we used Linga as well. That's how I actually got to know the company and everything like that. So what what we would do as bartenders and like humidor, like we would save all of our tips. They would obviously write the tip in and all that stuff. And then at the end of our shift, then we would go back to batch and tip adjustment, and then we would adjust our tips. And you'll see down below, you've got your total amount of sales and your total tips right here. So then that way they know, hey, I've got 43,000 tips, so on and so forth. So they can adjust post transaction.
Cool.
Cool. So now let's say all of her tips are all in and all that stuff, and she's ready to go. So she'll go back to operation. We'll go to till management, and then far to the right, we've got reports. So if I click on reports, you'll see that this is the report specifically for that Wednesday Addams, right? So I can then scroll through. I'll see her gross sales, her net sales, taxes, total credit card breakdown, how much cash she's taken in, what her tips are, and then what everyone really cares about is that cash expected, right? So that cash expected is going to be what they're owed or what they owe at the end of the shift. So if they're getting their tips at the end of the shift, what it does is it takes all of your cash payments, subtracts out your tips and gratuities, and then that negative 973, that means that she is owed $9.73. If it were positive, she would owe 973 to the actual drawer or to the drop. So, she can go ahead and do her cashier out. It'll print it out for her. She can then go and go to her manager, count the money, make sure everything's good to go. If she had any like tip outs or anything like that, those can be added in as certain percentages. So like, for example, servers tip out 4% of net sales of liquor for bartenders or something like that, right? So you can make it, or like, servers tip out 2% of net sales to the busser or so on and so forth. You can pre-calculate those in the back office so that it automatically just does the math for you. So then you know exactly what you're tipping out and when, right? Any questions on that?
No.
No, I like that.
Cool. So as of right now, she is pretty much good to go. She can go in and, go in, clock out, she hits clock out. It's going to ask her, you can toggle this. You can ask her to declare cash tips. We can't legally declare them for them. They have to be up to them, but we can set a certain percentage of net sales. That's pretty standard. Most people do like 10% or something to that extent. So then it would show that expected cash tip,
That's what we're doing right now. And then, so like every 2 weeks I do the payroll and I run a printout and it tells me their, what they thought their tips were. And then what our computer system thinks their tips were. I always go with what our computer system thinks unless their number's higher.
Yeah, perfect.
We want to be same
well, that's great. Yeah. Nobody wants to get audited. So, so credit card tips are automatically saved and recorded. If you toggle on the user that they have to declare the cash tips and make a certain percentage, then those are going to be recorded as well. So when you run your payroll, it should say expected tip and then what they actually did tip and all that stuff. So then you can toggle from there. You could also adjust those tips. Like, for example, a lot of the times, if you're running a bar and you have like multiple bartenders on one drawer, it might be easier just for them to ring in under like a bar PM or something like that, right? So you can ring all of those drinks and all that stuff under bar PM, do the tip out, split it evenly or hourly, whatever you want. And then you would just go into the back office and adjust the tip for bar PM to 0, and then adjust the tip for the two bartenders or servers or something like that to whatever their tip out was currently. So, so then we'll, so now she is good to hit the dusty trail. So now let's say, you've done these checkouts for all these people, right? And now you're ready to actually close the day, submit the batch and all that stuff, right? So you would log in as a manager. So you could log in as a manager and you'll see that it jumps for me right into the order screen. So you don't have to go to the table layout or anything like that. I would just go into the little gear icon right here. This is a shortcut for the operations. And then this is also a shortcut to sync with the back office. So I could jump in here. What I'll do is I'm going to go to batch and tip adjustment, and you'll see now.
Blue on that one.
Pardon me?
Just I mean, it probably doesn't matter, but our screen's pink, right, Kyla?
Oh yeah, yeah. So you can set the theme under POS settings. So if I scroll down to the very bottom,
Oh,
we've got some
neat.
themes.
Very
So
neat.
you guys are red, so you could probably change it to red and stuff like that. What have you.
Yeah.
You'll also notice you can put your logo right here and everything like that. If you haven't guessed so far, I'm a fan of Fallout. So this right here, you can have a GIF or anything you want as your main like logo. So like if your guy creates a mobile logo, he can pop it right up in here, and then we're good to go, right? So super cool. So we'll log back in. We'll go to our operations, and then we'll go to the badge and tip adjustment. So at the end of the night, as a manager, you're going to have access to see all of the different tips and all that stuff. So when you're doing that stuff, you've got all your checkouts from all your servers and all that jazz. You're going to go through, just scroll through, make sure, okay, all the tips are in and all that stuff. Because if you submit the batch, basically the entire day you're just authorizing payments. And once you submit the batch, you're actually finalizing those payments. So if you finalize and submit the batch without the tips being in there, they're not going to be accounted for, and you're going to have to reach out to your payment processor to actually update them.
That'd be this guy right here.
Yep. So just for the sake of his mental health, just make sure and double check that all of those tips have been entered in and everything like that. Or if you want to throw him a curveball, by all means,
We'll toss him one in the first.
Yeah.
One.
Exactly. Just keep him on his toes and stuff like that. Similarly, I mean, you guys are going to be using both PAX and MagTech. So MagTech, you guys are really just going to be reserving for specifically offline transactions just to be safe. So you would set your default batch device to be, the PAX or something like that. But then if you did end up taking transactions on MagTech, you would just go and change the device, and then you could submit the batch for that as well.
So we're gonna have to submit two.
Normally, no. So normally, like the MagTech is only going to be used for emergencies, for like offline transactions. Like
yeah, what is it called? What do we call them? Dynamo.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. Gotcha.
The e-dynamos, yeah.
Gotcha.
But normally your PAX devices are going to be your main batch devices.
Cool.
So we'll go in.
What does the processing through the online order? If somebody orders online, what is it doing the processing through the?
So with online ordering, that's actually automatically set to a sale. So there is no need to submit the batch because it's automatically doing it as a sale.
That's nice.
Yeah. So you don't normally need to worry about online ordering per se when it comes to submitting the batch. So just set it and forget it sort of way with payments. Obviously, make sure that you're getting those deposits and all that stuff. Make sure that you're online ordering, because when you go to reporting, you can see your online ordering sales separated out. So you will be able to be like, oh, okay, well, I've done this much in online ordering, blah, 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 so on and so forth, right?
Which is
So,
like Alex, if they want to see their online ordering, is reporting the best place to go to for that, right? Just to, if they want to review.
Yeah. Well, so in the back office, you have access to all of your reports. The online reporting is an actual toggle on the main screen, I believe. And then reporting, you would have a breakdown of every single type of order, every single type of payment, credit card, so on and so forth. So we can schedule another training sessions to dive into more of the back office settings and all that stuff.
Have to, yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's the plan. So from there, we'll go ahead. Everything looks tipped out and everything like that. We'll go ahead and hit submit batch. Obviously, these are fake credit cards, so they're not going to actually batch out, but you get the drift. It'll say, batch has been initiated. Please check back in 5 to 10 minutes. Realistically, if you have, 150 transactions a day, it probably takes like 10 seconds. It's nothing crazy. And then once you actually do submit that batch, you should see a screen that looks like this, where it just says, no payments and all that stuff. So now you've seen, okay, cool, no payments, I'm good to go. Now I'm ready to actually close the day, right? So you'll go back to your operations, you can scroll down, you'll hit close day. Now this, you'll notice right here, it says for all employees. So whereas the checkout was specifically for that one server or employee, this is basically your sales recap report, right? So you'll see the sales and everything, check counts and everything for the entire day, taxes collected for the entire day, credit cards taken for the entire day, tips, all that stuff. And then you'll find this final cash expected. That's going to be the cash expected for the drop at the bank.
Done.
Right? So if it's negative, you take it from the safe, blah, blah, blah. Positive, you deposit it into the bank account, right? From there, just make sure that everything looks good here. Count the money and make sure it matches. Then you can go ahead and hit close all cashiers.
Where's is it? We got a spot that we're just matching cash with on this
Yeah.
page here. Where is that?
Cash expected.
Cash expected.
Yep. So your
Reporting-
cash expected is for the sales recap report. Your cash expected is the most important number you're going to look at. So
We're
you're going to
matching
take
up. Okay, we're good.
exactly all of the cash you've taken from all the cashier or from all the servers and all that stuff. Got to count that up. It should match the cash expected. If it does, great job. Or if it doesn't, just double check and make sure maybe somebody didn't put a tip in or so on and so forth, or maybe they didn't, made a mistake here, or maybe they might have, even have an
Put a
active
couple
check.
of extra 20s in their pocket.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Well, it's a tale as old as time, my friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, so once you're done with this, then you can go ahead and hit close all cashiers. And then once you've closed all cashiers out successfully and everything like that, you can then hit close the day. So it's going to ask you, do you want to close today? You're going to hit yes. And then it's going to have this close of day checklist. So normally all of these should be, green. Obviously you might have some clocked in employees still. That's fine, just because they might be doing cleaning, so on and so forth. I wouldn't recommend, really messing with tills per se, so then you won't have to worry about tills. No open cashiers. You have, it should say 0 on batch transactions, 0 on tip transactions, so on and so forth. So then when you are, seeing all greens and check marks, just go ahead and hit submit. It's not going to let me because, I've got a bunch of stuff going on here. But let's say, well, it didn't let me because I have active tills still open. But if I say, like, I'll click on that, then I can actually see all my active tills and I can close these tills as well.
That's pretty cool. You can just go right from that.
Exactly. Yep.
Issues are. I like that.
So
Very
then,
nice.
so on and so forth. But once you hit submit, it's going to say close of day performed successfully. And congratulations, you have survived your first day at Linga. Any specific questions on this?
Alex, kind of putting you on the spot here. Any
I love it.
And you can feel free to, maybe this is a conversation for another time too. If we, and I don't know how well you know restaurant manager or shift for that side of things, but as far as like, what are some nice things that you think that Linga might have that restaurant manager maybe currently doesn't, right? That people can be utilizing. Anything else?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as intimately as familiar with, restaurant manager or shift for as I'd like to be, but a lot of the good selling points and all that stuff, especially for like delivery and all that stuff. So let's run through a delivery real quick. So what I can do is I'll clock in, click on delivery, and then I can actually, add a delivery order. So I'll select delivery, hit done, and then we can search, 239. I almost forgot my own freaking number. Jeez. And then once I actually do that, you can actually go in and see a live map. Again, a test fake store, but the live map shows you an accurate picture of all of your delivery zones with your current current deliveries pinpointed out, so you can plan that out. Another really huge, thing is offline orders or like offline transactions. So like if you guys lose internet, you could still take transactions. And then what you'll do is when you go to the batch and tip adjustment screen, you'll see down here this process offline. If you had an offline transaction, it would be highlighted in red. So then you would just hit process offline and then it just runs that transaction offline. or like reruns it once you've established that connection to the internet. So it really offers in a lot of ways to just keep the ball rolling. You're not really gonna, even if you lose network, you might not lose your ability to maintain and take payments and all that stuff. So, it's definitely a selling point. Similarly, just the ability to sort of what what really sets us apart, I believe, is a lot of our data and all that stuff. So once we get into the back office per se, you'll see that you can get so much information. You can run sales reports on individual modifiers. So to the point where like you could be like, hey, well, everyone's ordering this like one particular pizza, right? But they're always adding, this topping to it. So you can be like, well, why don't we just add that topping to it right off the bat? And it allows you to sort of get a picture for how your customers are actually using your store and what they like and what they really enjoy, so that you can grow with their taste basically. So it allows you to like real time, changes to the menu and all that stuff. Like I always, from my personal experience, I always noticed that when somebody bought a Padron 1964 Anniversario series, they were also always buying, Macallan 12. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, now I know that they both like those two things. So why don't we do a pairing party with that? And then boom, we got 30 people showed up and everyone loved it. And everyone was like, holy crap. And then we're selling boxes like it's our job, right? So, it just allows us to sort of gauge exactly what the customer might be thinking per se.
Makes sense.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, I can tell you already, just like having been in the Lighthouse Business Manager and whatnot, just the part that seems really nice to me is the back office, just like the payment summary, the summary